Hey, what is up, friends? It is your friendly neighborhood BJJ podcaster, Rafa Sparza, coming to you right now. It is 11 past 1 on Best Coast time. Got a great guest today, returning guest, which always makes me happy. It means they liked coming on the first time. He had a pretty impactful weekend. We'll get to him in a second. But first, we want to give a shout out to our good friends over at Dodgy Collective, dodgycollective.com. They do incredible things. I'm very excited to say very soon what we have worked with them on. But I gotta tease it out. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. In the meantime, I'll go ahead and give our other friends over at Nogi BJJ Gear a little shout out. It's a nice little rash guard, but what does it say on it? It just says on this, your hashtag Corona weight champ, because I dare someone to tell you you're not. Here's the thing. Everybody's fighting at weird weights right now. And when I see fighters who don't make a certain weight, I don't judge them because it's Corona. I get it. Everybody's got different situations going on. However, if you go to nogibjjgear.com, use the promotional code GrapplingHour15, you take 15% off of whatever you put in your cart. That's what I got for you. Let's get straight to our guest. I was impressed with his win over the weekend because we were talking off air, and I was telling him that I was trying to watch it live. And I had it on my iPad, and I had his really, really incredible match with Curran Jacobs on my iPad, and then it froze. And then my fans in the comment section said, you need to go see it. It was pretty savage. Quentin was kind of having his way. And I said, well, let me go back and watch it. And I went back and I watched it. And the transition work was immaculate. It is always fun to watch him compete. But I was so glad that he got some of his shine over this weekend at the Sapateiro Invitational, which is why we're bringing him over. He's not just a Corona weight champion. He's an actual champion, a catch wrestling champion now. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the show. Quentin Rosenzweig. How are you doing, sir?
Pretty good. What's up, everyone?
It's good to see you back, man. I know we were trying to connect earlier in the summer. I wanted you to come on one of our fight companions. It just didn't work for the timing. And I have been so interested to see what you've been up to. But clearly you had a pretty good weekend. I guess the first question is, how did that match come together?
Well, I was looking for jiu-jitsu matches, and I couldn't find any because, I suck at jiu-jitsu, so people don't want to face me. And my buddy Josh the Dude asked me, he was like, well, you can't find jiu-jitsu matches. Why don't you try a catch wrestling match? And I guess Curran Jacobs wanted to face me. So I looked up Curran, I watched his wrestling, and I was like, oh, let's do it. Let's run it. I'll do any grappling event. I don't care if it's freestyle, Greco, anything. If someone wants to face me and give me some.
Have you ever done anything that would be considered catch wrestling before?
No. I mean, like, it's basically no-gi grappling with a pin. I've wrestled in high school. I spent a long time at a really good freestyle club in Atlanta. Like, I wasn't worried about getting pinned.
Because here's the weirdest part about this whole thing. This is a whole subset of that in-between realm, the shadow realm of jiu-jitsu fan and wrestling fan, because they're very vocal about how great catch wrestling is. I like to think that's amazing, and I always welcome new people into the fold, but they have opinions on jiu-jitsu, folks. So did you feel like you were carrying the banner a little bit in there?
No, I mean, I had this conversation with one of the catch wrestling guys earlier, and they're like, oh, you're going to represent catch now? And it's like, no, I'm a grappler. Like, I do jiu-jitsu, I do freestyle wrestling, I do judo, but I'm a grappler at the end of the day. If it's a grappling competition, I'm going to show up and I'm going to be competitive. And if there's subs, I'm probably going to win.
So when you were getting ready for the trade, so how far back did Josh put this together? Because one of the things I do appreciate about Josh, and aren't many, but one of the things I appreciate is that he usually gives you an actual fight announcement or match announcement with some time to it, so it doesn't just happen 2 weeks out. Like, you actually had some time.
Yeah, it was like over 2 months out. We were talking about it like back probably the last time when you were talking about me coming on the podcast, we were talking about this matchup because I wasn't finding anything. Like, Fight to Win wasn't putting me on. I couldn't get on Third Coast. So I was like, well, let me do something. I need to compete. I was going crazy during quarantine. I started lifting like a madman. And I was like, if I come back, I'm just going to murder somebody.
I have to understand that's got to be very difficult for competitors especially when there are only so many options open. You know, I've been asking people a lot, which is, what have you been doing to preoccupy your mind? Obviously, you do the training, but how do you replace that competitive mindset when you don't have the thing you love doing as much?
I mean, so my competitive mindset is more of me testing what I'm working on, like testing the connections I'm making. It's not as much like an ego-driven thing or even like a money-driven thing. So I'm just continue that same kind of process when I'm in the gym. I'm like, all right, what connections can I make now? Where does this go? And how is it going to affect my game and how will it work on certain kinds of games?
So, having said that, were you doing anything different with your training given the pins? I know you said you have a good background with doing wrestling as part of your like upbringing, but does that change
Uh,
any of the way that you do in preparation for this particular match, which is a little bit of different rules than we're used to in jiu-jitsu?
I just try to be aware of it in training. Like if I played off my butt, I made sure I didn't put my back on the ground, or if I did, it was quick like transitions. I also brought down Johnny Buck, who's a fantastic catch wrestler and faced Curran before, to like a 35-minute decision, and that definitely helped a bunch too. Because Johnny's a big, strong guy, like stronger than Curran, so I wasn't really too worried about it. And I just kept bringing down good guys to train with. Like my main training partner forever, Sergio, came down the weekend before, so I had a good push like last weekend. I had like Ryan Aiken, my buddy Doug Usher, who's a pro MMA fighter. Like I constantly had guys coming in, and then a lot of like the local community down here like embraced me too with training, so it was nice.
So, was there any back and forth? Because, again, I mentioned a little bit of the catch community. Were they giving you any mess in the comment section leading up to this? Were you prepared? Did you know that was something that was probably going to happen?
I had heard about them, so I was a little bit prepared. There was a lot of hardcore like Curran Jacobs fans. I was like, where do these people come from? But it is what it is. I'm used to dealing with crazy fans. I mean, none are as bad as like Gordon, so the catch wrestling community was nothing.
I mean, it is kind of interesting in the sense of, you know, our own community with Gordon roasting you is probably going to make you not really feel anything else from anywhere else. It's kind of that whole, you want to get made fun of by your own than that.
Dude,
It's
I
what
grew
we
up in a
usually do.
gym. It's gonna be a hard time to break through my skin, especially if you're not man enough to step on a mat with me.
I just love the fact that as I saw, you know, people talking about it, I was happy for you because it meant more attention, more eyeballs on it. But I also know that somewhere in a room, there's a Josh Starlord LeDuc looking at his phone going, good, yes, more. Oh, and then what did he say? You know, and I know that that's good for business because, again, as a pro wrestling fan, I understand this realm. I understand this world. So I have a certain thing, which is whoever you're choosing to present yourself as online, just be yourself and make it consistent. So if
Yeah,
you are a heel, be a heel. If you're not a heel, don't embrace that too much because it's just silly. So I'm glad that amongst all of that chaos, because I've seen how crazy they were. In fact, I saw them in the comment section all event long, and I'll get to that in a second. So walk me through the
they're
match.
probably lucky they didn't hear the trash talk. Yeah. So like we started, I pulled right away. I knew he wasn't gonna respect my guard pull because I had seen videos with like the slapping the guy for pulling guard when he was talking shit to Gordon, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna wreck you now with this. Oh, like I originally had planned to like wrestle with him just to make a point, but then he said I had no chance of getting in on his leg, so I was like, all right, now I'm gonna fuck you up. So we started. He had post down on my legs. He was strong, but he was flexing like the whole time. So I felt his energy draining a little bit. Just kept setting up the arm drag, setting up the arm drag. Finally went and I like launched him with an arm drag. I wasn't even expecting it to go that far. I just had to catch up on it. But went to the back. He tried to slip his head under my knee and was trying to keep pressure to keep me from going back. And then I connected the hands and switched to a Kimura grip with his head on the inside. And I throw a Kimura there a bunch. And I know if people try to flex down, it pulls on those ribs on that side. And that's how I popped his rib. He screamed. So if it was jiu-jitsu, I probably would have tapped him like 4 times in the match, considering. And then he
I
rolled
want to
into an
stop you
armbar.
here
So I
though,
started armbarring
because
him.
I want to stop you here because I know that you want to talk a little bit more about the finish, because I just want to give you my perspective of what I was saying is when I see somebody do this multiple times and I'm a ref, I usually might signal to them, are we good here? Like, what's happening? Because it seemed like he
Yeah.
kept pointing back to
I
it.
think once he realized what had happened, he was using it as an excuse. Like I realized as soon as it happened, he's like, I know I'm outclassed. Like I need an excuse of why I'm gonna lose this match. That's why I started talking shit to him after the reset on the triangle, and that's what kept him in the match. I was going. I was like, hey bitch. I was like, don't bitch out. I was like, quit if you want to. I was like, quit. I was like, I know you want to quit. I was saying it to him in between rounds too. I was like, come on, I see it in your face. I want to quit, but he stuck it out. So props to him.
Hey, that is the one thing that I was very pleased to see. I mean, obviously, the reason why I have a slight bit of concern is I go, yeah, that doesn't get better. If anybody's done jiu-jitsu or any kind of combat sport, you know that like floating rib syndrome
You can kind of
is
grit
not.
through it though. Like we've all gone through it.
I mean, yeah, I'm sure if you're in a competitive setting and you really want to get that win, absolutely. But I know that I've had one of those things happen in casual training, and it still stuck with me for about a few weeks afterwards. So when I saw him holding
Not fun.
yeah. But when I saw him holding it and then I saw him, get back right into that kind of triangle position, I said, this has got to be excruciating. So I do applaud him for getting back in and finishing it out. So talk us through the end of the match then.
Yeah, so it spins in the triangle. We got lots of triangle on, and the ref stops right as he's tapping. And I'm like, all right, whatever. Like, this was not hard. I'll just do it again. While we're resetting, he starts like complaining that I'm squeezing while we're setting up. And but he's talking while he's doing it. I was like, bro, if you're talking, like, I'm not squeezing. I don't know if you understand how chokes work. Finally, we got to go in. I underhook, tap him again. Like I said, in between rounds, I was like talking a little smack to make sure he stayed in it, because he did not look like he wanted to come out for the second fall, because catch wrestling, you have 2 falls in the championship. So he came out again. Again, I sat guard. He tried to like club me, and as he clubbed me, I used it to spin under. He tried to backstep, and as he backstepped around the corner, I S-gripped leg and pulled right to a knee bar. I was going nice at first, and then he heel stomped me in the balls, and I went out pop his shit. But that's how it went.
That is usually the breaking point for most people to go from 0 to 100 very quickly. So understandable. Yeah, I don't know, man. Let me ask this, because I'm trying to figure out, is there just a weird discord between these two elements of a similar tree that are just different branches? Because if he's saying, hey, man, he's choking me, and you're pointing out, well, you're talking, it sounds to me more like just different understandings and those worlds clashing, and that inevitable, well, maybe we don't always understand each other, but to us it makes sense. To him, it might seem a little bit more like, hey man, I don't know about this is closer to getting a win. So I just feel like we're two very separate worlds. So was there anything that happened after the fact? Because obviously he put up what he put up a little bit later, but did you guys say anything after the match? Was there any kind of notes? Because I know you talk trash, but you're quite nice just in regular form. So I can imagine that once things quell down, you're a good sport about it. So what happened afterwards?
Yeah, no, I was cool afterwards. Like, I gave him a hug after the match. Like, I was impressed he stuck it out. Like, I really jacked him up. Then he like posted a thing. He went to the hospital, so I was like, "Oh, let me check his post, make sure he's all right." And then I see him saying that he definitely would have won the match if it wasn't for the rib injury. So I went on there. I was like, "You mean the one like caused from a submission attempt?" And he goes, "Oh, in the moment, it won't last." And I just told him, I was like, "Come back and I'll break you again." So I don't like that fake arrogant stuff. Like, if you're gonna be a dick right after. Like, don't be crying in the back room, go to the hospital, and then say that it was a fluke.
Yeah, it was good that you did put that up because, again, it's similar with Mason and Craig Jones, where you see there's kind of a method to what is going on. Even if people don't always understand it, like when you know that
Oh yeah,
compression is
definitely.
happening there, it's part by design. And granted, I messaged Mason and said, if you ever do that to me, friendship over. And he's like, I know, man, dick move. I get it. But in this particular setting, it's part of the game. Like, if
You
you are
won them.
putting that squeeze, that is something that people go through with a regular body triangle that is normal in our world. So it is an unfortunate heightened element that does sometimes cause an injury. So I was disappointed to see him say that, but I was glad that you stuck up for yourself and you said, hey, listen, it's a legit technique that I was using. And obviously it was something that, you should be able to take props and give yourself that sort of thing accordingly. Do you really think you'll end up getting another match with him? Do you really feel like they're going to end up doing that? Or do they have other plans for you? Because I don't know more than a handful of catch wrestlers, if we're being honest, who are competitive. That's why that whole catch wrestling belt to me is so confusing.
Oh yeah. Yeah, so I guess I'm the lineal champion now. Snake Pit pulled out their like sponsorship of it because they had set up a match with Curran and Ian Jones, who's supposed to be a legit catch wrestler from England. I think he's like the European catch champion. Which probably was a good idea for them because they would have screwed up their whole event. Because now they're facing each other for their Snake Pit belt, which was to be for the World Championship, which obviously isn't up for grabs anymore. So I'll probably get the winner of that. Maybe I'll face like a jiu-jitsu guy in that rule set that'll do it beforehand. It all depends. If that event even happens, if Curran even steps out on the mat again. Maybe I broke him forever.
Well, I mean, talk like that just assures we may see that again. I would say, though, that, it intrigues me. It's just like watching Wrestling Underground where I go, hey, listen, guys, I'm not this guy, but for the purpose of the weekend, I want to understand your world. So bring me in, show me what you do. There couldn't have been dumber people in the comment section, though. Like, I feel like it's one of the few times we should have ever had an IQ test to make it into the room so that there would have been a little bit of a buffer. But I just couldn't believe it, man. And it was unfortunate because I was going there in good faith to be like, hey, listen, I want to give my friends props. But when they're like, Keith's boring, I was like, roll with him.
Oh yeah, how could you ever say Keith's boring? You fucking crushed through Jordan's face in the finals. Also, could you ask for a better finals?
Oh, it was so fun. And the nice part about it is those guys are both super savage level jiu-jitsu competitors. So when somebody said they're like, oh, it's going to be Keith versus Jordan, I was like, I'll watch that anytime. I don't know what anybody's complaining. But again, comment section, be dumb. I did want to ask this.
Yeah.
Have you ever had a grappling match inside of a ring? Did that change anything?
I've had matches inside, like I fought MMA in a ring, so it was similar. But I've also had matches in like cages and stuff like that. The only thing that changes is you cut off angles. So like when Curran was running from me, I was able to cut off his escape angle by using the corner of the ring.
Because the hardest part for me to understand with the catch wrestling element was just a lot of people were talking, why aren't they standing up? And I was looking at people in the comment section being like, you only have a little bit of room for stand up. There's not a ton to do there. So it's almost as valid of a strategy to pull guard in this particular setting because that ring is a little deceptive in terms of.
If you don't think you can, like, if you think the guy can't pin you. Like, if the guy can pin you, it's a little dangerous. But I just knew he wasn't going to be able to pass my guard. No pins to be worried about.
Well, it's interesting to see that's what they have in store or at least planned for you. So I guess the question is, what did you and Josh say after? Was Josh pleased? Did he enjoy your performance? Was he giving you some props? Because I know the thing is, you're close with him, but he also is pretty good about being a promoter and having that separation of, all right, I'm rooting for you, but now I got to be a promoter. Bye.
No, I mean, he was just happy. Like, we talked about it beforehand because obviously Josh is a good friend of mine. So, like, he made the match in all good faith and was being a good promoter, but he knew I was going to win.
He was telling us as much when we were doing promotional talks about it earlier. He was like, man, I just can't wait for this match. It's really going to show off Quentin. And I mean, I guess the other question separate of all of that is, did it feel like a nice return back to competition from these weird few months of, well, it's been awkward to not have regular grappling competitions vibe?
Oh, definitely. Like, this is the longest layoff of my career since I've been like a professional, like doing this for a living. Uh, it was mad awkward. Like the first 2 weeks, I got so chubby because I was not used to not being able to go to the gym and just do stuff. So I was just eating and hanging out around the house. And then I like looked at myself in the mirror and I was like, okay, this is not gonna stand. And I just went outside and like started working Madman like all quarantine. I got up to like 212 just lifting. Like obviously some of that dropped off as soon as I got back to rolling, but it definitely added strength.
Let me just see if I have nope, that's not a comment we're gonna put for too long. Look at that. Too easy every time, Josh. It's not like you have merch that you can go buy at Josh Starler LeDuc's website. I wouldn't promote that. That's terrible. We don't say fuck Flow on Grappling Hour. We say, Flow. You know what I mean? Like, not really that. I just like the fact that there's this giant movement now that they're starting to move. And I go, listen, dude, y'all do what you need to do. I just like giving them shit. And I hope that they can easily take that shit. But sometimes they take both things very personally. And it's like, don't take it personal. Don't be that bitch. Just relax and understand when you're the big dog in town. There will be criticism that goes with it. And then all of a sudden you see your good friend show up with a shirt that says fuck Flow. And
they
you go,
talk shit. That's a big.
They have gotten worse. I will say that. Yes. Now they're starting to talk shit weirdly in very silly ways. We joked about it on the show this week that they put
even
up a thing
to each other, which is ridiculous.
I know. We were joking about on the podcast this week that they put up a post when they were trying to keep the mystery of who's Craig Jones going to face. And while doing a fight companion over the weekend, while watching Submission Underground, I go, it's probably going to be what? Like Roberto? And then they put up a post. They go, there was 0% chance you got that. And I was like, or I did while being coked out of my brain doing 12 hours of fight companions. I still was able to guess your dumb riddle. Good job, you idiots. But like, it's just taking heat checks or, man, I'm so awesome moments for no reason where I go, 0% chance is what a stupid person says. Don't write stuff like that. So I like giving them that sort of stuff. I also want to point out here, Gustavo says that he was very disappointed Quentin didn't fight with, it looks like, the Hitman Rashi on.
Oh, I was supposed to get new one, but put down our order. I'd given away all of mine at like seminars and stuff, so I didn't have a new one in. I wanted to. That's why I had to throw on the 10th Planet Austin rep for them.
I mean, good for you, dude. I didn't mind that at all. I just was like, I saw that question pop up real earlier from Gus. And I said, Gus, what the fuck, dude? Let the kid wear whatever he wants to wear. We're not a fashion show critique here. But we can't. So let's ask this. You said that for the first 2 weeks, you were kind of during COVID, obviously going out and working out, which is good after the fact. But like, at any point, did it affect your mental health? Did it like affect you? Did you see yourself maybe even staying up and play video games? Like, what did you do when you couldn't do that though?
I mean, like I said, for like the first 2 weeks, I drank a lot and like got fat, but I switched from beer to straight scotch, cut back the calories, and then I just started using all my Honor equipment out in my parking lot and went crazy. Probably had my neighbors looking at me like I was insane because I worked out in a hoodie in like 90-degree weather, but it is what it is.
So how has it been back? Are you guys open back up? Is it something we talk about? I just assume everybody has a different situation than I do, and I'm not trying to get anybody in trouble here, but you are back to training. I just want to know what's your situation for your gym.
Oh yeah, no, I'm in a free state, man. We've been open for a while.
So what
So
was
I actually was supposed to open my gym at the beginning of this, and then I actually only just opened up like a month and a half ago. We're up to like 15 members now. Like, gym's great, going great. Couldn't be happier.
so where exactly are you located? Like what is the residency of your home gym now?
It's in Savannah, Georgia. It's 10 Planet Savannah. We're on 917 Louisville Road. Come see us. And yeah, we've had people dropping in left and right. James Brasco's come through. Like I said, Sergio. We've had a guest every weekend stopping through to get some training with me. So that's been fun. It's also really easy to get people to come down here because you're like, we have great food and a beach, and you can now train really good jiu-jitsu.
I would ask this, which is, are you getting more people who maybe had similar situations in that maybe they gained a little bit of weight from COVID and they're trying to lose it? Or did you have people who, man, because of this, were really looking for that outlet who'd never done jiu-jitsu and said, you know what, let me try this now that I've got that time?
We've had a real mix. Our very first member is one of my really good friends, Keith, and he's for his one leg. Wanted to do he started doing it down here because he needed to be close to his kids, and he was training my buddy Dan Fazzino up in New York, and Dan was like, hey, check out my boy Q, he's phenomenal, he'll take care of you. And he's down, I think, 80 now. Like, he went to go get a new prosthesis, and they sized him a month beforehand, and it was too big. So props to him. But I have guys like that, and then I have a whole bunch of Army Rangers because Hunter Army Airfield is right down the road. So got a lot of Army Rangers too. And then just normal people just want to learn jiu-jitsu. Like, it's a good mix of people.
That's pretty dope, man. I'm super stoked to hear you're getting a whole bunch of Army Rangers too, because I think that was one of the key defining things at the very beginning for the guys in San Diego was you're out near a base, and sometimes these guys want that extra outlet, or they, we found from our years of doing the show, military members who want to do something outside of the military gravitate and take very well to this.
Oh, definitely. Especially guys that are used to like discipline and used to like learning processes for stuff. They take to it very well. I've got guys that were already training that were just happy that they're like new around here because like Savannah, like it's a big town kind of, but it's got like a small town vibe to it. So they're still like a few years behind on like their level of jiu-jitsu and the way jiu-jitsu is being done here. So it's a lot of very like gi heavy schools. Like, there's some good gi heavy schools, but there was no gi really. So I've had a lot of their guys like cross training. Like it's been real cool. Like there's another cool gym that I train at all the time when I get my gi training called Surge. They have a great gym. So like we'll help each other out and stuff. Like if anyone wants to train gi, I send them to Surge. No gi, they come to me for the most part.
What have you found about training gi the most like now, as opposed to when you used to train it a little bit more back then?
It's not too much different. Like the only thing is like my grips get a little bit more sore, like when I'm done. But besides that, like I've always trained so much gi that it's like riding a bike, and I don't really ever drop it off. It might take like 10 seconds for me to be like, oh, use the grips. But that's about it.
I've been curious because I always wonder for the more no-gi practitioners, if during the summer months you just think like, you know what, not the time to put on a heavy little jacket here. I don't want to put this gi on. It's too warm.
Oh no, I like the heat, man. Like I said, I work out outside in a hoodie every day.
So I guess the other thing that we've been trying to figure out is, as people have kind of come back, what has been one of the most positive elements for you? And I know opening a gym can be very difficult during this time, but like, has there been something positive that's happened from this whole situation between lockdown or anything to that effect? Have you taken one positive thing out of this whole ordeal?
Honestly, it's just like it's enjoying the social interaction with people. Like we get so used to being around so many people all the time that like we take each other for granted. And now like coming back to the gym and like building my own team, like I fucking love all the like just hanging out and shooting the shit that you never really think about before.
Yeah, I mean that's one of the hardest parts about telling people who don't do the sport is saying like there's a real camaraderie that happens in here that benefits not just your physical health but a lot of the mental health. So that's been something that we've been trying to impress upon people here is there's no replacing getting food after you training. There's no replacing the conversations that happen after you train. Like those are things that just happen organically, and there's a certain magic to that.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like I've done this most of my life now, so like missing that, it's like going insane. You're like, oh, I got this funny joke about some bullshit that I was gonna make, but there's no one here.
I mean, yeah, that's the odd part of this whole ordeal has been, most of my stuff is just translated online more, but I do miss doing interviews in person because I really like profiling like a home gym and showing people like this is what their gym looks like, this is who they are, and you get a really good sense of doing that. And I had all these plans to visit all these gyms and do some on location shooting, and COVID happens, and I go, I don't even know that a gym can have me for a little bit, and I don't want to put some of these people on blast by like even
You
putting
can
a
come out
selfie
here.
of it. I would say this: it's
Nah,
not
man.
out of the cards.
We're in the South. I don't give a fuck.
It's not just people not giving a fuck. It's just trying to make sure that those who want to train can do it safely and smartly. And I do feel like there is a smart way to make
Yeah.
sure that people can do that and feel in the certain areas, because there are certain areas that you look in, it's not even affecting people. And that makes more sense to be like super open. I live in Los Angeles. If one person even has a house party and it's a Mexican family, there could be issues. So it's like not apples, oranges. It's more
Yeah.
so like
We temp check
apples.
and everything, like violations and stuff.
So that's awesome, man. What is the next steps for your gym then? Because I have to wonder, is it hard being an active competitor when you also want to blow this gym up? Or do you see it as, man, the more I get out there, the more my gym gets out there?
I don't know if it's that. I just think it's like for at this point, it's almost like doing it for those guys where I'm like, those guys have to suffer fucking roll with me all the time. I was like, I should go out and see like if all the stuff I'm doing works at the highest level. Uh, so that's kind of what it is. And then there's also like that legacy factor of it too, where you're like, I want to build a gym, have titles, and I want my team to have titles and the mark. So it's kind of that too. But I've been a competitor for so long; it's just part of who I am. Uh, I ran a program before that wasn't one that I owned. Like most of us that compete are still teachers, like unless you're like somebody that's paid for, but like most of us still have to work. If you can call it that, like teaching jiu-jitsu is the easiest job ever. A little frustrating at times, but easy.
I thought I saw you were getting out to Texas as well. Tell us a little bit about that. How was your time spent over in Texas?
It was great. Yeah. Kyle Bame asked me to come out and coach him for who's number one. So I've always had a great connection out there with Justin, thanks to Curtis and doing the on invitational out there. And I've done a bunch of seminars. I did a Texas Nogi camp. Like, I love Austin. I considered being at one point, but it just wasn't a beach, it was a city for me. I like the small town. But yeah, so training out there is always great. Like they always have a bunch of people dropping in. Like they do 10 round Tuesday, which like I do at my gym now too, which is always fun because you never know who's gonna be there. You got 10 freaking rounds. I do 10 push-ups in between, straight training. And then going out to Dallas, hanging out with Eddie is fun. I know it's exactly like you see him on Joe Rogan talking conspiracies and a little stone. But it was fun. Like I had time hanging out with Eddie, learned something from him. And then coaching Kyle was a fun experience, helping him get ready. he looked great in that match. Like one little mistake, Gordon's really good, but shit, 12 minutes the champ. Props.
So I was also curious, you were they have like a little garage, like a dogfight dojo, and it seemed like it became a home base. And I saw so many clips of you training out that way, and I thought that was so cool. But it's its own little vibe. So what is it like training in that little setting? Because it's so funny. You see people training in the garages, but that has a really unique, distinctive style. Like I love the color of it. I love the feel of it. And it always seems like it attracts pretty top tier talent in there too.
Yeah, so when the whole lockdown happened for it, like Curtis and all that, the school dojo names like there's like Castle. One was like I don't even remember them all, but the dogfight dojo was one. It was all the girls from the gym, so it was like Mary, Lauren, like, basically a team of girls, and then a lot more people started like training there too. Obviously, there were classes at each location in the satellite schools to keep training going during lockdown. So the other one, I guess they decided to keep it going. And so they would do training there. Like when I went out there to go teach, they were like, "Hey, can you come teach in the dogfight dojo and like some techniques?" And I was like, because of like I love all those people out there, like my second family. They treated me so well. And yeah, it's fun. It's hot. It's real hot. It's Texas, but it's fun. And we had good rolls, good heat.
Well, I know that you were saying that you were out there coaching uh, for Kyle. Did your coaching involve him taking the mushrooms? Like, who was the person who advised him to do that?
Uh, so it actually came from a story about another competitor that I was telling him. I think he's done it before. I don't know. I knew he had taken them. I did not know he put it on Instagram. Like somebody texted me and they're like, "Oh, did you see Kyle take the mushrooms?" And I was like, "Well, yeah, I did, but uh, how do you know?" And then they're like, "Oh, it's Instagram story." And I was like, "Kyle, you're a maniac." But I mean, he rolled well.
Listen, dude, I'm not gonna, but hey, I just thought it was funny that that was like a little side dish to something that already had attention just because of the top tier of their two talents. But then you see a clip like that and you go, well, 10th planet gonna 10th planet. So what you gonna do? So Quentin, answer me this, man. What is coming up next for you? What like are you looking to do? Because I know stuff like this has to impact, seminars or things and plans that you had for the year. What are you looking to do in the next few months? Are you looking to have more matches? Are you looking to, concentrate on the school? Do you take a little seminar tour? What's coming up next for you, man?
I mean, I was like doing all of it, honestly. I'll compete in anything I can. If anybody will put up a match with me, I'm there. As long as like it's not gonna cost me money. But as far as seminars, I'll teach seminars, making friends all over. Like last year I basically spent the whole year traveling teaching seminars. It was great. But I like being at my school too. So running with one of my business partners is Jake Joe. He's another black belt. So if I ever need to travel, he's here and can do it and take care of my school for me. But I'm going to defend my title in November, uh, either against the winner of Curran and Ian or maybe somebody else, depending on how that plays out. Or if that match doesn't happen. Well, I don't know if the defense will be in November, if it's Ian or them, but I'll definitely have a match in November with Sapateiro. There's some other people who've been trying to get me to come out and do catch stuff places, but I don't know. We'll see. I'm definitely doing the ADCC trials. So there's that.
I was about to say that
Besides
seems to
that,
be the big
I can't seem to
talk
get
of.
on any other shows.
Why is that? Like, why do you think they don't want to put you on?
I don't know. Like I've heard speculation on multiple things. I don't think Flo is my biggest fan because I've always been quite critical of them. Uh, but I think that has something to do with it. I don't know what the deal is with Submission Underground. Like everyone and their mother tried to get me on those cards. Or in that tournament against Craig, which is pretty ridiculous now because he was talking about how I didn't deserve a match to face him, but he's facing a guy that I just beat like a year ago in a minute.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I would say that
I'm just happy to step on the mats with whoever's willing.
I mean, dude, I would say that you definitely are the caliber that would be interesting on a Submission Underground. I think that's got a lot of momentum going for it. And, you know, I mean, now you've got a little currency. I mean, at some point, can you not just bring a belt and be like, what does this mean to you? Look at this. It's catch wrestling. Do you have any other catch wrestling champions here? I know you guys are putting on these other wrestlers. No, I mean, but for real, though, on a very important note, I think sometimes they don't know how to match people up with certain styles. I don't know if they know about how to match you up, because a lot of those guys are usually typically local stars, and I think that's great. But I do think that you would benefit from being in that next tier. So I'm not against you getting on that at all. And I mean, I look over at Third Coast. I think you'd make a good addition on that set of cards that they've got there too. Jits Kings, I mean, you name it.
Yeah, I've talked with Ryan a few times. Ryan's real cool. But like I said, I think it has more to Flo than those guys. I don't think Flo likes me very much, to be honest. I've also speculated that like they've invested a lot into Roberto. And I mean, Roberto's really good. The kid's going to be the future. But I still got that win on him. So I think that worries them some too.
I would tell you this, man. I would say at a certain point, they've got to just kind of acknowledge that, like, you've got a good resume. You do put fun matches. You know, I mean, I think the important thing is just to stay consistent and hopefully just let the stuff work for itself. So at the very least, it is a good thing that you got Sapateiro with Josh that makes sure you get a prime slot, because I get excited to see you compete, man. I think they do good work. And I think one of the hardest things to make an athlete understand is sometimes you have to be your biggest own cheerleader, and then just sometimes magically something happens afterwards. Like at some point that stops and you kind of can rest because they start seeking you out. So hopefully, who knows, maybe a good performance over at trials or something else that's coming up near and soon gets you on more people's radars where they don't let politics become a problem. Because to me, I'll tell you this much, Flo is certainly putting on people with dumb opinions and controversial opinions on a number of other issues. So if they really have issues with politics, then maybe they might want to look with those people. And I'll tell you this, man, I've had my issues with Flo, but I've always tried to keep it very professional. And I think that there's a value in saying, like, listen, we don't always have to be friends, but you do have to respect the work. And I've been on Flo a couple times doing commentary. I would love to do more, but I have
an issue with the way they control their content without even really giving you a say in it.
So
like at the end of the day, the athletes should have more of a say in our own content than they do.
Here's
like you're making money off of us and our efforts.
Yes, it is almost similar to the NCAA. Using likenesses of athletes, and that really has never sat well with me. And that's I would assume that's one of the first things I spoke out against, that I wasn't a huge fan, because to me, we're not like, say, the NFL, where you're an athlete, you're Deion Sanders, you don't own your own video there either. But Deion Sanders can put up a clip that somebody made of highlights of him and share that, and it doesn't get taken down. Whereas for you guys, this is your livelihood. This is how you get sponsors. This is how you get people to engage and like that. And I remembered early on when I said, you know what, you should just record your own matches. Just have that happen to some of my friends. And they started going after those video files too. And I said, all right, at a certain part, you have to make this fair. And I will say, I was very impressed that Mo has cut a deal so that ADCC competitors can, and I hope it's for the trials as well, can use and leverage that footage, because it's at least a small crack in there. But I've been hypercritical.
Definitely. That's definitely a step forward. I mean, most have done great stuff for the sport. Like, look at the quality of ADCC. I wish he wasn't partnered with some jerks, but whatever. At least he's making them act better.
We'll see, man. I mean, we're still in the infancy of our sport, which is why it's like, as big as people think it is now, I always take a step back and look and go, guys, curling crushes us in ratings. Like, all things considered, even Gordon Ryan isn't going to pull more ratings than a curler. And that just puts things into perspective. No matter how big his following gets, you have to keep the idea of how does the sport grow, be patient. And I think that when you have people who have a monopoly on something, it's just a matter of being honest and saying, hey, listen, this hurts the athletes. If you're going to hurt the athletes, you better promote the athletes better and not just
or at least pay them accordingly.
Yeah, I mean, that's another issue. But that also comes on the promoters too, because some promoters just bring you on and go, here's some circus peanuts, enjoy. And I get it. You know, it's hard to put on these events, man. But the hardest part to me is you're handing over your likeness. You might as well have handed over your video game and animation rights too, because what they're getting from you guys is a huge premium. But my issue has always been, and I understand what it's like creating content, they go with the top 1% of people, and you don't see anybody else get coverage.
And even if you beat some of those people, you still may not get coverage.
Correct. So to me, I say, listen, I know you got to keep that cycle going, and I know you need to reach certain people and get certain numbers. Totally understand that. But if you're not going to pay them well, you better promote that next aisle and series of people. And I feel like that's always been my MO, as being like, well, whoever they're not going to promote, I have a better eye, in my opinion, than they do. So half the time when I'm watching these events and I see them doing interviews 2 years after with the same people I've done, I always go, noted. Good. I'm glad they get their coverage. Totally is amazing. But like, that's y'all's gig. If you are going to be the only, little show in town, then maybe treat your athletes a little bit better. That's my issue. That's my constructive criticism.
That and the whole red belt documentary thing, but whatever.
I mean, that's going to be Emil and Josh's thing till we die. And hey, listen, if you donated to that, I totally understand if you're pissed. I just know it's one of those things that I go,
it's a good documentary.
I mean, it's significant. It's just, do you expect anything else to be done about it? And the PR that was put out by Hal on that one was not good. So if somebody has particular issue with me saying something about that, then they can't take constructive criticism. And why do you want to be on there? But I think we're usually pretty even-handed in how we deal with those things. So that's why I usually tell people, I'm like, oh, they don't want critical people. They want cheerleaders. So, as long as you guys get your matches on the air somehow, that's what I'm looking for. And if you're making money off of them, dope. Do what you need to do. But just know it's going to be sometime in the future that another curling organization or another broadcaster comes in and things can change very quickly. So we'll see. Anyway, man,
I think it's in the works.
I've heard things. I always hear things. I always have my ear on the bottom of the ground, but I'm very much we'll see. We'll see what happens here. So I'm just excited to always be a participant or be somebody who observes. Quentin, let's do this, man. I want to give you the opportunity to shout out anybody you wanted to. I'm going to give you the full frame right now. Feel free to thank either, sponsors, anybody who helped you get ready for this match, anybody you just want to say hello and thank you to, bud.
All right. Thanks to Red Bowie, one of my main sponsors. Thanks to everybody at 10th Planet Savannah. Please come visit us, 10th Planet Savannah. We're down here. Come to the beach, drink some beer. We'll do some jiu-jitsu. It's a lot of fun. Thanks, Josh Duke, Sapateiro crew. The event was amazing. Probably one of the most fun I've had at an event. Thanks, Keith Krikorian, Jordan Holly, and Andrew Alexander for cornering me at that event. Big props. Thanks to my buddy Jake Joe, my business partner, drove me down there, cornered me, took photos, dealt with me the whole time. Was a blast. Thanks to Eddie Bravo for always having my back, always keeping me going, always giving me good advice. Brandon McCatherine, you're my boy. Johnny Buck, thanks for coming down and training with me. Sergio, thanks. My whole crew back in Atlanta. I love all you guys. Miss you. Come visit me.
It's good stuff. Appreciate you, dude. Big congratulations. I'm glad we were able to get this on air and talk. I'm going to close this up. I'll say bye to you off air, so stick around. I'll see you in just a second. But our thanks to Quentin Rosenzweig. Thank you so much, bud. I'll see you back in a second. Before we get on out of here, tomorrow we will have an episode. I'm not sure what time. I said it was going to be a certain time, and I have to reschedule. I know. Adult things that I got to take care of. I got to be responsible. Do us a solid. Go give our friends over at NogiBJJgear.com a visit. Buy something off there. Use the promotional code GrapplingHour15. Get yourself a nice rash guard like this one that says Corona Weight Champ. Actually, if I wear it like this, it'll seem like I wore it the whole interview, and maybe they pay me more. So, yeah, that's kind of hard to make that happen. Yeah. Buy that. Buy anything else. Use the promotional code GrapplingHour15. It's good stuff. We always appreciate you guys here. Later in this week, we will have Chase Davis tomorrow, and I believe on Thursday it is young Keith Kokorian, another standout from the Sapateiro Invitational. We just released the new episode of Verbal Tap where we talk about Submission Underground 17, Wrestling Underground 1. Go give that a listen, and I think that's going to do it for us here today. My name's Rafa Esparza. You've watched the Grappling Hour. It's been a great day for grappling. We'll see you back on the mats. Eventually.